Hello again to another Aga Kalera React, and today we'll be watching 10 movie documentaries better than the actual movie from whatculture.com. Another great channel, great about for the entertainment, movie news and all that, so let's just get into it and just see what they have to say. And what kind of movies are they talking about?
It's reasonable to assess that most making of movie documentaries are not much more than trivial, mildly entertaining fluff pieces intended to bulk out the home video release with extra content, and not much more. But on that rarest of occasions, a behind-the-scenes documentary itself can turn out to be a more engaging and well-wrought piece of film than the work of cinema it's actually covering. I'm Gareth from WhatCulture.com, and here are 10 movie documentaries better than the actual movie. Number 10, Crystal Lake Memories: The Complete History of Friday the 13th. As iconic as the original Friday the 13th might be, it's tough to call it a genuinely good movie, no matter its entertaining gore and delicious final twist. The majority of the sequels, meanwhile, range from passable to dull to unintentionally hilarious to whatever the hell Jason X is. But decidedly more entertaining than any single film in the franchise is Daniel Farran's Crystal Lake Memories, a ludicrously comprehensive 400-minute documentary about the entire series. For any fan of Friday the 13th, Crystal Lake Memories is both insanely enjoyable and extremely informative. Largely thanks to the exhaustive access Farran's has been granted to the cast and crew members of every single film. The notable exceptions being Kevin Bacon and Crispin Glover though. Far more than a glorified series of behind-the-scenes featurettes stapled together, Farran's film plans a frankly obscene amount of fascinating content into its epic near 7-hour runtime, and smartly refuses to shy away from the franchise's, let's say, less dignified moments. Number 9, The Beginning, making Episode 1. Star Wars Episode 1: The Phantom Menace is one of the most controversial and divisive Hollywood blockbusters of the last 25 years. A mystifying, fascinating curiosity of a movie, the production of which continues to baffle many to this very day, your presenter included. But this 66-minute documentary about the film's creation, released as part of the Phantom Menace's home video package, shines a vital light on quite what went wrong with not only the movie itself, but the entire prequel trilogy. The extensive footage makes it abundantly clear that Lucas's talented cast and crew were so utterly in awe of a new Star Wars movie being made that few stopped to consider the possibility of it being anything less than great. The most deliciously cringeworthy moment arrives at the 55-minute mark, as after screening a rough cut of the film to his inner circle, Lucas calls it disjointed and adds, "I may have gone too far in a couple of places." That is one way of putting it, Judge. For anyone attempting to understand how Lucas got the prequel trilogy so wrong, this documentary is absolutely required viewing. Number 8, Magnum Opus: The Making of Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. It's probably fair to call Kevin Smith one of the most self-indulgent filmmakers working today, because how else would a film like Jay and Silent Bob Reboot even exist? And while the film is a perfectly enjoyable for the fans reunion with the beloved stoner duo, it's also barely a blip compared to the fantastic recently released feature-length making of documentary, Magnum Opus: The Making of Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. Though the doc won't do much for non-fans, obviously, for Smith diehards it provides a surprisingly comprehensive look behind almost every day of the movie's shoot, confirming that a Kevin Smith set has as much of a family atmosphere as you'd expect. Beyond this though, it also delves into Smith's reasons for making the film, namely his near-fatal heart attack the year prior to shooting, and paints an affecting picture of a filmmaker simply grateful to be doing the thing he loves. Number 7, Lost Soul: The Doomed Journey of Richard Stanley's Island of Dr. Moreau. 1996's The Island of Dr. Moreau is one of the most infamous troubled productions in Hollywood history, an ambitious attempt to adapt H.G. Wells' 1896 novel with a $40 million budget, and an all-star cast led by Val Kilmer and Marlon Brando. By all accounts, the shoot was an utter mess, with original director Richard Stanley ultimately being fired mere days into shooting by a studio frustrated by the lack of progress. But even after veteran filmmaker John Frankenheimer was brought in to right the ship, the project was beset by an impetuous Val Kilmer and a typically difficult Marlon Brando. while the studio also feared Stanley would attempt to sabotage the production. This is all covered in David Gregory's outrageously entertaining documentary, which catches up with Stanley to explore his experiences attempting to get the film made. There is not a dull minute in the doc as a result, as is more than can be said for the Dr. Moreau film itself, with Stanley proving an effortlessly likable focal subject. Number 6. Best Worst Movie. Best Worst Movie is a 2009 documentary about the curious fandom surrounding the so bad it's good 1990 cult classic horror film Troll 2, as directed by one of the film's child stars, Michael Stevenson. Beyond delving into the making of the film, what truly takes this documentary to the next level is its deep and intimate examination of Troll 2's fandom, and precisely why people are so obsessed with it. This makes for heartwarming viewing as the movie's cast and director are able to enjoy its resurgence in popularity almost 2 decades later, even if they don't always seem entirely aware of the level of irony with which it's now being consumed. As a document of a trash cinema classic, of the surprising forms fame can arrive in, and the second life that movies can receive thanks to internet fandom, Best Worst Movie is a genuinely insightful and even unexpectedly affecting film. The same cannot be said for Troll 2 though. Number 5. Overnight. As much as the low-budget action thriller The Boondock Saints became a shockingly successful cult classic on home video, it was dumped in just 5 cinemas on its initial theatrical release.
5?
Widely reviled by critics who felt that it was simply another post-Tarantino knockoff. For a brief moment in time though, writer-director Troy Duffy was considered to be the next big thing in Hollywood, with his script for The Boondock Saints making him an immediate, if fleeting, household name. As is depicted in this fascinating fly-on-the-wall documentary, Overnight depicts Duffy as a man with a planet-sized ego, whose absurdly arrogant attitude resulted in him effectively sabotaging his own career before it really ever got started. Though the documentary was shot on Duffy's own insistence, ultimately filmmakers Tony Montana and Mark Bryan Smith knew that there was no way to spin the footage in the director's favor. And so Overnight is a jaw-dropping depiction of unearned hubris in one of the world's most fickle industries, which makes it far more interesting than The Boondock Saints itself. Number 4. Burden of Dreams. Veteran documentarian Les Blanc directs this discomfortingly intimate look at the making of Werner Herzog's famously troubled 1982 movie Fitzcarraldo. Blanc's boots-on-the-ground filmmaking captures the all-encompassing insanity of the shoot. From the harsh, natural rainforest locations, to the clashes between the cast, especially Klaus Kinski, and local tribes. And of course, the fact that director Werner Herzog literally had a 320-ton steamliner dragged over a hill. Don't try that at home, kids. Above all else, the film is a demented testament to Herzog's alternating genius and insanity. And while it certainly serves as an excellent companion piece to the film, it's ultimately a far more interesting and engrossing piece of work than the movie itself. Number 3. American Movie. Chris Smith's documentary American Movie is hands down one of the greatest and most heartfelt movies ever made about filmmaking itself, chronicling the efforts of indie director Mark Borchardt to complete his horror short film Coven. The long-haired Midwesterner, who can't even pronounce the title of his own movie correctly, makes for an immediately likable and easy to root for underdog lead. A guy who has a dream and refuses to give up on it. Though there are certainly wince-inducing moments throughout Borchardt's journey, it's ultimately an affectionate tribute to the never-say-die spirit, while making the most of the oddball pals he surrounds himself with. Though Borchardt never became a Hollywood success story, and Coven is in no way a good film, American Movie itself went on to win the Grand Jury Prize for Documentary at the 1999 Sundance Film Festival, and helped significantly boost his profile regardless. Oh, you just love a silver lining. Number 2. Lost in La Mancha. Though for decades it seemed cursed to never happen, Terry Gilliam finally completed his long-gestating film The Man Who Killed Don Quixote in 2018, which ultimately released to mixed reviews from critics. Gilliam's struggle to get the film made was astoundingly immortalized in the incredible doc Lost in La Mancha, which depicts Gilliam's first attempt to make his Don Quixote movie in 2000, and was intended to be a making-of companion piece to the film. The initial aborted shoot was beset by all manner of issues, such as sets being destroyed by floods, original Don Quixote actor Jean Rochefort suffering a debilitating back injury, and investors pulling out suddenly. As heartbreaking as the experience clearly was for Gilliam, it nevertheless makes for compulsive car crash viewing, offering an uncommonly intimate window into how the cinematic sausage is made. As much of a relief as it is that Gilliam finally got to bring his vision to the big screen, ironically the end result wasn't nearly as compelling as his own quixotic filmmaking odyssey. Evidently it was the journey that mattered more than the destination here, a life lesson for us all. Number 1, They'll Love Me When I'm Dead. 2018 finally saw the release of the late Orson Welles' final film, The Other Side of the Wind, which he began shooting in 1970 and which was finally put through the post-production process after Netflix stumped up the required dough. Though the film was certainly a deeply satisfying decades-long culmination for Welles fans, it was in fact outdone by the companion documentary Netflix commissioned alongside it, the aptly titled They'll Love Me When I'm Dead. The doc is largely centered on Welles and his attempts to get The Other Side of the Wind made, painting a picture of an ambitious genius like no other, yet one who found himself frequently falling foul of pesky studios and finances. But beyond lending crucial context to Welles and his final, recently completed project, the documentary serves as a far more coherent and illuminating human drama than the attached feature, which, while fascinating in its own way, only skirts on the verges of coherence. But this special documentary, however, was more than worth the wait. And that's our list. Know of any other movie documentaries better than the actual movie? Let us know all about them in the comment section below, and do not forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button.
Do you know any documentaries? I didn't see any of the documentaries, and I've seen like. I'm trying to think how many of those actual movies I've seen. Well, I've seen that the episode 1 of Star Wars, obviously, but that probably all. Yeah. Anyway, what do you think about it? Was the list good? Did you see any of those documentaries? What did you think about them? Okay, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.